morning. Happy New Year to everybody that is here again. I guess Happy New Year. We were on yesterday, but now feels like the actual New Year. Start getting back to work today, back to reality, I guess. And 8 o'clock came fast this morning. I was up early, but just I had a bunch of, and we'll get into it. I had a bunch of kind of stuff to purchase on my TFSA. It's kind of like the first of the week where the market's open, the first of the month for that StreamYard subscription challenge to deposit and get that sorted out. So I did all that before the live stream, which was nice to get that out of the way, which we'll get into. We'll show you what I purchased. For everybody that's welcome, we'll say as people roll in, but just before that, I just wanted, if you're watching this on the replay, we go live 8 o'clock to 8 o'clock Pacific time to about 8:45, talk about our TFSAs, talk about investing, and whatever else we get sidetracked on. It's always good to have, and we typically have a coffee. And let's see who is here from the, as we're calling them, a coffee crew. Good morning. Candace is here. Welcome. Good morning, Candace. How are you? You missed yesterday's. You missed our prediction. You missed our prediction episode yesterday, Candace. So if you want to chime in with predictions, feel free to leave your. I know I watched your video, but maybe leave a comment. What do you think is happening? And Stan, good morning. Welcome. Always good to have you here. All the regulars are here. That's awesome. And MC, GM, good morning. Welcome. Always good to have you here and your input. And Abigail's here. Abigail Bailey, always good to have you here. Thanks for tuning in again. And great morning. It is a great morning. It's nice. You know what? It's nice. It's nice to kind of have the holiday stuff behind us. You know, that whole week and a bit between, you know, just before Christmas to after New Year's. It's always this weird space it's kind of like time goes fast, but time goes slow. And it's just nice to now get back into, hopefully work starts again and just back to the normal routine. And I think I'm looking forward to that, at least because it keeps me busy. Sometimes especially when if you work from home, I think maybe you'll find, like, if you're not working sometimes during the day, if you have to keep yourself busy, but it doesn't always work out that way. So I watched a lot of Netflix. I watched a lot of YouTube and just relaxed, but it's nice now to kind of have a bit more of a schedule in that. And that being said, though, I'm doing a bit of traveling, actually going to go visit my parents. So I will be away for a couple of days. So there won't be any live streams, but that's okay. We'll catch on later on. And Nadia, good morning. Yeah, thanks for the mug. You sent this actually, isn't it? I'm so used to using the same one every morning. I'm saving yours. You'll see once the new, I'm waiting for Nadia for the new stream setup that I'm waiting for a few things on, but it will be the new coffee mug will make an appearance. Well, you can always, there you go. Yeah, you can always catch the replays are always on there, right? You can always catch the replay. And I know people do watch the replays because I do get a few comments usually on them. I know obviously replay live streams aren't maybe no, let's not say that. This live stream is the best thing to watch on the replay, but you just don't get the interaction, which is the thing with live streams. But if people are watching on the live stream and you do leave a regular comment, I will get back to you. That's for sure. I will get back to you. Yeah, you have to wait for the mug, Nadia. Everybody will have to wait for the mug. So that's as we go there. So start of a new year. Obviously, we'll have to see what the market's going to be doing, how our investments are doing. But again, I think, going back, just sticking with the plan this year. That's my goal. If anybody has, what their goal is, we've asked for it before, but leave your comments. It's always interesting to hear what other people are doing. I'm basically sticking with my plan, and that's how I started off this morning. So I can share that because I've already shared it on my community tab. I just got to share my screen here. Once I can find it. Is that it? No, that's it. No, there it is. And we'll get this in a second. Yes, they are. I have a ton of mugs. Yes, when I moved, MC got rid of a lot of them because you go to conferences, whatever, you always get these mugs for whatever reason. And I always use almost the same one every day. And it's one I've had since it's got my name on it. I don't even see it. Yeah, it's got my name on it. I've had this since I was a kid. And I don't know how I got it out of my parents' house, but I guess I took it when I moved out for like however many years ago. But I've had this thing for, I don't know, probably good 35, 40 years, and it still works. It's kind of stained. It kind of needs to be, I think, bleached maybe or something, but it's done me well for the mugs. And I do have a ton in the cupboard, but there's a new one. There'll be a new one that was sent by my friend. So you'll see it soon enough. It was good. It was a good call. Anyways, let's go on to what kind of my plan. I've talked about it a little bit, but always good to kind of share it, carry on, practice what I'm talking about it. I might as well share that I've actually done it. All right. So I did a bit of shopping this morning. I did do my deposit. So I had the way it worked out this week, because it's the first of the month and it's the beginning of the week and everything else. So I'm starting to do obviously my StreamYard challenge, where I'm not paying for the subscription for StreamYard. Hence why you see the over wherever that is, with a watermark. So I'm in the free version because I'm not being cheap. I'm being frugal to save. So what I did is it's normally $25 US a month. I converted that today to Canadian. It worked out to 33.06, 33 or 34.06. Can't remember. I already can't remember. Jeez. And the plan was to put it towards Brookfield Asset Management. And obviously, as we know, it had that split, that super weird split. And I'm still not sure. And okay, perfect. So there we go, Candace. So you have the BAM video tomorrow. So perfect timing, because I have no idea which one, and I will be watching that video, Candace. I have no idea what one to buy. It's part of that challenge. I mean, obviously I'm not putting tons of money into it, but I want it to grow, right? So I wasn't sure. So I purchased basically, what I did is I bought both. So I basically split that $25 US deposit, 33. I put $17.06 in each one, something like that. So that's what I did. BAM fractional share and a BN fractional share. So we'll see how that goes. Maybe I'll continue that. Maybe after watching your video. Don't give me any spoilers, Candace, but maybe I'll keep doing that. I don't know. I think the market's trying to figure out what the heck to put it into. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. There we go. That's what I was kind of figuring out from reading a little bit. So I guess I want both. Like, this is the thing. It might not be a bad idea to split it up, right? And to see how that goes. Get a bit of growth, get a bit of dividends. I don't know. So maybe I'll keep it split. It's hard to know. I should maybe do a poll, let the community decide, because the community decided what one to actually purchase. So it would maybe only be fair to ask everybody, what to do going forward. But as a starting right now, split 50-50. So that worked. And then I also bought VDY. So part of the 1 year challenge is put $100 in. So I bought one share of VDY, the Canadian High Dividend Yield Index ETF. And then I purchased $50 in PSA. It trades up. It kind of fluctuates, obviously, after the ex-dividend date, because it kind of goes up until that date and then it comes right back down. So this one will be dollar cost average, basically. So I'll put basically just $50 into it each week. Each week, into PSA. And that's the Purpose High Interest Savings ETF. Pays 4.59%, I believe, right now. So I did that. And then I put the remaining that was kind of left over into VFV. So that was just done as a fractional share. That's what I did. And then that's the BN. So split those up. That's what I did today. That was my morning. So that's kind of nice to get that out of the way and continue that on. So next week will be the same thing. We'll be continuing that on each week, except for the BN and BAM. That will be figured out, or that's monthly. So that's nice. Other than that, I wanted to bring up, I didn't have an article for this or anything else, but obviously I think everybody watching probably knows this, but for people that are maybe catching this on the replay or don't know, it's obviously past the first of the year now. So we have everybody's got an extra $6,500 to be able to put into their TFSA, which is always nice. I'm nowhere near my limit, so not something I necessarily have to worry about right now, but it will obviously I have that contribution room now. So down the road, I can hopefully eventually have this thing maxed out. That's the goal of the goal is to have to get into $100,000. But obviously, if I can start to get close to max that out, that would be nice. I think at the rate I'm going, it's probably, a good 10 years away almost. 8 years maybe, if I can really be diligent to it. Although this year I do want to try and really sock away into it, just with everything, if I'm able to. So we'll see. Obviously, I'm not going to max it out this year by any means, but that's the goal. And that is nice. The new, I think you're right. It's 88. I think it's 8,800. I think you're right. If Zach is here, he'll know. I'm not sure if Zach is watching yet. If we're not sure, we always have a good correction team watching. That's if you're over 18, and I was over 18 when it started. So great product. I was also the new one, I guess, starting this year is that, I haven't talked about it much on this channel because it's obviously brand new, but there's also that new first-time homebuyers savings account that's starting as of the 1st as well, for those that are watching. So if people are thinking of saving for a home, that might be some opportunity there. From my understanding, the way that one works is, and there we go, Justin, perfect, 88K, there we go. So if anybody was kind of close to being maxed out last year, there's your chance now to be able to put some. I know there's a few people that watch the channel that we're looking forward to the first to be able to add back into it. So that's awesome. But I was talking about the first time home savings account, and I have to look into that a bit more now that it's kind of been introduced. But it's I think you can put is it 40? I could be, someone will correct me, I'm sure. I think it's up to 40,000. I could be completely out to lunch there. But that one is starting too. So if you're saving for a home, you can look at that as well, on top of your TFSA possibly. Just something to be aware of the terms and all that. I know if you're not buying a home, I think you're obviously taxed on the way out. So just something to be aware of, much like an RSP, taxed out, not taxed in, tax deductible going in, taxes coming out. They always get you with the taxes, except the TFSA. So there we go. Well, you don't get any tax breaks for putting it in, but if you're making some money in there, there's your tax free. So that's always good. Underutilized. I as we talk about MC, we're mentioning the since you've been 18, you have $8,800. I wish I started after this. I've been working on this for it'll be 2 years in April. 2 years April 1st, and it just shows how quickly things can. How quickly. Obviously the market's down this year, but aside from that, it's great to see how quickly it can actually surprisingly grow just by doing these regular deposits and putting in regular deposit. It just after that, it takes about, you start to really notice it after the first year, and as the dividends start rolling in, I had the dividends came through, which kind of went into VFV, but at the end of the month, I had my the div dividend came in, that was almost $2, which is awesome. I had the TransAlta Renewable come in, which is a couple bucks. So all that kind of just starts to snowball, which takes a little bit of time to really notice that. But I actually, good, perfect, Justin. So can't have owned a home before. There might be some time period with that too, Justin. I'd have to really look into that. It's so new. It's kind of hard to know what, if people take, so $8,000 a year, 40,000. So people aren't going to necessarily be using this thing for a while until they can gain up $40,000 or whatever, right? Sometimes it's hard to know. They should have just worked it out where people can, up the TFSA limit for the first time home buyers and not the TFSA, but the RSP, or instead of creating this brand new account, it's almost more kind of politically motivated, I guess, to make it sound like it's a good thing. But at the end of the day, I think more people maybe could have benefited from other products. And if you're not buying, especially if you're not buying a home, and obviously the way house prices and everything are, $40,000 is like, it's almost like, it's crazy. It's like not a lot of money to put as a down payment on a house. I mean, depending where you're living as well too, but it's kind of crazy. So, and Jason, good morning. Welcome. Always good to have you here. And MC's TFSA, tongue twister, was up until last year was to go, my TFSA up until last year was to go concentrated in holdings over a diversified sector. So now you're diversifying a bit more, or is that what you're still continuing on, MC? Good to know. And there was another thing I was going to share, and I got on that tangent about the first time home buyers account, and I've completely lost my my train of thought for that, and it had to do with my TFSA too. Anyways, it'll come back to me. The only other news I had today, which I'm sure everybody, they can't catch a break in the news, is of course, let me share this in the screen. Oh, here we go. MC. Okay, I'll trim out up a minute here. VEQT, okay, and move my concentrated hold. So, I see what you've done. Okay. I see what you've done. So you follow the concentrate to build wealth, diversify to keep it approach. That's a fair. I think I would say that's a fair approach. I'm not at that point yet, but you have to obviously think about that. I mean, down the road, that will be a topic for sure to have to worry about, right? What do we do? What do we do once we meet our goals? And that will be something I don't have to necessarily worry about it right now, but I guess that's the question. Like, or what happens when, I mean, for example, I mean, I could use one if I'm thinking the one that will probably go up that I will sell would be, like, one of mine would be the BTC.Y. Once that, hopefully, obviously, who knows what's going to happen, but if that's something that appreciates quite substantially, that I would sell, and it's like, what do I put that into? So good call, by figuring that out. So something now I have more. Now I have more things to think about in the future. So once you do hit that goal, what do you do? How do you diversify to keep it? That's good call. Good call, MC. All right, one last article here. Okay, when your TFSA becomes a decent size to maintain the added space, diversification helps. When you earn the gains in TFSA, essentially room becomes that amount. That's right, because if you do take it out, you can put it back in, right? If that's how it goes. I'm just realizing I can see myself, and I need a haircut. And good call there, yeah. Because if you do take out your gains, it opens that space up, right? If I'm not mistaken. Better late than never, Brian. Good morning. Welcome. Good to have you here. It's okay to be late. We don't keep track of attendance. It's okay on there. You can show up when you show up. One last article here. So Tesla can't escape the news, right? So this is what always is always baffling with the market, right? Companies make record. Obviously, Tesla delivered a record 405,278 cars in a quarter, but they missed the target. So it's like they're making these records, but then they just get hammered because the market always seems to they always seem to expect more. And if you're obviously, I have Tesla in my CDR, not a ton, obviously. They were short by about 15,000-ish cars from their estimates. And if we're looking at it today, it is down a big time. They can't seem to catch a break. As of right now, what are we looking at? Tesla down 11.5% today. So is it a time to buy more Tesla or not catch a fall? God, not catch a falling knife. It's hard to know what's going to happen. What's going to happen with Tesla here. I was listening to. I was on Twitter last night, and there's Twitter Spaces, which are kind of interesting sometimes. And there was one where actually Elon Musk jumped onto, and he's always kind of interesting to listen to. He's a little different, that's for sure, but he was the big thing. I think he's getting the flack for being with Twitter, buying Twitter, and not seems like it's not. I guess the perception is him not paying as much attention to Tesla, but he was talking a little bit about that. I should actually try and track it down again and share it on the community tab, because it was interesting talking about, like, he's basically said he hasn't missed a meeting that he's supposed to be at with Tesla, anything important like that. He kind of laid it out like there's absolutely nothing that he's missed that's been key. So I don't know. I think the media likes to jump over him because he's outspoken on everything, and it's there. It sells. It makes the clicks, right? So I think that's it. I don't know. Will I be adding more Tesla in the future? Yes. When I have no idea. I don't know if it's not necessarily. It's hard to say what's going to happen. Maybe a bit of overreaction. It always seems to be the case. But I think going into 2023, for me, again, sticking with my plan as kind of how I want to carry it forward. So we'll see what happens. In 2023. Not going to be chasing. I don't think chasing any kind of other than continuing on with my plan. And I don't know if he's watching it. It'll be, and I'm still really interested to see how those new yield ETFs turn out. I don't know if anybody. I know Vic has bought. He said he bought some Tesla yield, the purpose yield shares. Has anybody else looked at those or bought any of those since they've been released? Those might be kind of interesting as a dividend play going forward. It's hard to know. That would be maybe, if Candace, if you're watching, that might be a good one to maybe do a breakdown on. Although I think there's 5 or 6. You don't necessarily, I wouldn't say necessarily break down them all, but maybe a generalized video would be always good. Your videos are always they are kind of interesting. It'll be interesting. I'm interested to see how they do, especially coming out of. I would think, especially coming out of as the price appreciates, hopefully, as we come out of the bear market that seems to be going for long ever. But we'll have to see. Oh, you do have a video on them. Okay, how did I miss that? I will go back and check that. Okay. It's sometimes that's the funny thing with YouTube, Candace, is even though you have subscription, like you subscribe for whatever reason, you're logged in, and YouTube just sometimes doesn't always show your videos. And I even have notifications, and it was last week. I'm going to attribute that to the Christmas weirdness, maybe. But YouTube doesn't always, even if you have, I have notifications on with your channel, and if everybody's watching, turn on notifications. That's my call. The side segues, turn on notifications so you'll get notified of new videos. But it doesn't always notify you. I think it uses their algorithm to possibly notify you when they think you're wanting to watch that video. So I didn't catch that one. I'm going to watch that, Candace. I'm going to watch that after the stream. I'll put that one on and give that one a listen, because I did kind of find it interesting to see what they do. So whether I decide to, instead of buying more Tesla CDRs, is maybe try that for a bit, just to see. It's always kind of interesting to see what will happen. But exactly, scary part. It is scary. It is scary. The scary part of investing in growth stocks is typically the price earnings is quite high. It's right. Growth needs to keep accelerating to move the stock price higher. Slowing growth will really cap the share price, and that's what we're seeing in Tesla, right? Even though they're growing, but it's showing signs of slowing. Although they've grown year over year, but just with them, obviously, you can think about it. I mean, if we narrow down, there's lots of different there's lots of different growth stocks, but well, let's pick on Tesla. Certainly impacted, right, with with recession coming and people scaling back on discretionary items, right? Apple would be another one. But I mean, cars. I think cars sometimes, especially double whammy, right? Because you're talking about people buy cars with debt typically, right? I think the vast majority of people buy. It's not even buying a car. You get a car with a loan, and obviously with interest rates higher, that makes it more expensive. So there's, those are the kind of things that would get hit more in terms of the growth, and on a growth stock would that get hit with a car. So that is unfortunate. And I mean, on Apple it would be much similar. People aren't necessarily going to buy the latest and greatest gadget. They'll get by with something that they've been using for a while. I mean, I can attest to it with my phone. It's not an Apple, but I've had it 2 years, and I don't see the point in buying a new one and spending the extra money. I'd rather, if it can say it was an Apple phone, I'd rather, if it costs you extra whatever a month, I'd rather buy Apple stock with it or something different. Buy an investment or put it in savings, and that's what people do with these growth stocks. So, and so one quarter doesn't make it a trend. So we have to see, right? It's just, I think, a lot of uncertainty, but it's not a surprise. It's not necessarily I wouldn't necessarily say I'm surprised by the drop, by the big drops. It's just the market being the market, right? They still have to release they're rolling out their semi truck. They still haven't shipped what's the other Cyber truck. Still waiting for that. Be interesting to see how that does. I was thinking almost this morning, like Tesla needs they do need a more economical car to really, I think, go make it a go. It's hard to say, like more of a compact car, hard to know, but we'll have to see what happened. Yeah, and we saw that, right? Slowing growth on hyperstock can bring it down like 30% in a day. It was fairly common in 20. Yeah, we saw a lot of stuff drop, right? I mean, pretty much almost everything. Shopify was one. At some point, it's like everything got hit, right? Shopify, Netflix, Adobe. You could go down the list of stocks, right? That really got decimated in 2022. So it's we'll have to see how 2023 pans out. But I have a feeling in 10 years, hopefully, you always think like in 10 years you look back and go, I'll look back at Tesla, or let's pick on Tesla, and you can, what the CDR shares right now are what? I think they're under $10 now. Let's take a look. Almost $10. So they're down 12% today. So $10.22. I mean, in 5 years, I'm gonna probably guess that people will look back and go, I should have bought more at $10. Maybe, I don't know. It's hard to know. It's really hard to know. Yeah, that's the one thing. Infrastructure. That is the one thing. It's getting there, but of course, if you think about it, internal gasoline car, there's a gas station on, like, there's a gas station on every corner until you need one, but they're plentiful, right? So it's definitely infrastructure that we need to make them to make it take off. But I think it's slowly getting built. It's never fast enough, right, Justin? But I know a lot of new homes build into the garage, the proper plugs that they can charge the proper wattage, whatever voltage or whatever it needs, because you can plug it into a regular outlet. It doesn't give you the same power. So I know new homes are doing that. A lot of in the cities, like Vancouver, for example, a lot of the new condo developments have plugins in parking spots for certain things. If you go to a lot of the parking lots in the malls or plazas and stuff do have EV stuff, but not enough, right? Like it's if you go to the parking lot at Superstore, Loblaws, or whatever, there's 5 or 6 stalls, and a lot of times now they're full, which shows that it's obviously people are transitioning, but they still need to do it. It's almost like all of a sudden, if it really needs to take off, like the governments want it to, you need every spot to have a plug almost, and that will be interesting. And yeah, so at least in BC, if half the houses need to plug in their cars, the power grid would be overloaded, and that's what they have to. But exactly, it's hard. It's really hard to know how this will all pan out with that, and that's, I guess, where we need infrastructure for energy. So where some opportunity would be then, I guess, is if it's going that route, which I think it kind of is, whether it becomes a hybrid model to start with instead of full EV, I don't know, but there's obviously opportunity for energy companies and energy infrastructure companies, and possibly renewable types of companies as well, to power these things. We'll have to see how that pans out, Justin. But yeah, it definitely would be that, and they do need more power, places to plug in. And I agree with that. Yeah, the only easy answer. But the problem with sorry, it's not a problem with nuclear. It's I think the perception of the problems with nuclear as power source. That's really what we need. Obviously, BC has lots of hydroelectric. I think it's all hydroelectric, if I'm not mistaken. But just because of the geographical location of being able to take advantage of that, it works. But there's obviously areas that are not. That's probably something that will have to be done for sure, because I don't think renewable is going to be the golden ticket out of an energy supply issues. Oh, MC. So pretty early on Shopify and held for the long term. I sold in early 2020 before the huge run up. Oh, okay, before the COVID rise, right? Well, there you go. There's nothing wrong with that. If you made, it's always, I mean, hindsight's 2020, right? But it's, if you've made something, then you can't look at it that way. You just think it was good at the time. So I think that's awesome. But you're looking at it again. Okay, interesting. Yeah, MC, there's a few people I know on the chat that have Shopify. I think Candace, if you're still watching, you have Shopify, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it's a popular one. It's been a popular one. I haven't bought it individually yet or anything like that, but we'll see how that one pans out. But on Justin's note on EVs again, I'll bring that up. But it's funny. I mean, I don't need a car, but it'd be interesting to see. Or let us know in the comments. I mean, if people have car, is it your car a gas? Like, what is your car? Is it a gasoline? Is it a hybrid, or is it electric? It'd be interesting to see the people that are watching what they're driving. I have a gas car. I barely spend any money on gas. I don't go very many places, but it'd be interesting to hear. Probably, I'm going to guess most people probably just drive a gas car still. The prices have to come down on EVs too, I think, to make it worthwhile. Oh, you sold it a while ago. Okay. It's still, it's still, yeah, it's still popular. I always look, I don't know, FC, I always kind of look every once in a while at, I'm going to log in here. onto my Wealthsimple. If you actually look in their Discover part, some of you can. It's always kind of interesting to see the top. You can go to the top list and see like the most actively Canadian, like traded Canadian stocks. And Shopify right now is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, is number 7 on Wealthsimple. That one, it's always kind of interesting. You can kind of check it on your portfolio. And it is the most, if it was the most valuable Canadian company on the TSX for a brief moment. That's interesting. So Justin's wife's is itchy nose, gas car and a diesel truck. There you go. Yeah. So internal combustion. My car is gas. I don't. I barely drive though. It's almost like if I had a hybrid or like electric car, it's almost like it wouldn't. I mean, people seem to want to do it because it would save them money if they're driving because they're using gas. But I put maybe, I don't even use a tank of gas a month. Like it's crazy how much when you work from home. It's nice actually when you work from home and not having to drive. It's great. My gas bill has gone down substantially. I think at one point when I was commuting for work, I was paying like over, and this is before gas prices were crazy, and I was paying over, it was over I was spending over $2,000 a year just on gas. Like it was, when you add it up at the end of the year, it's like, holy cow. So now it's a fraction of that, which is nice. And that's the one nice thing about working. That's the one pro of working from home. It saves you some money. You still have to have the insurance, unfortunately. It's too bad you couldn't get some kind of insurance that you can, like, too bad they don't do a la carte insurance almost, where if you're not driving it, it reverts to, if it's parked somewhere. I park outside, but if it's parked outside, it's insured for theft or damage, but not for driving. And then if you go drive, you turn it on for the day and you buy a day of insurance, because sometimes my car will sit for a week and not even, sometimes I just go out and just drive it just to make sure it starts, because it's cold in the winter, right? And give it a drive to make sure that it's going to start when I need to use it. Just go drive down somewhere for a quick drive. But yeah, that's the thing with Canadian companies. They like, sometimes they just go like crazy, and then it's like, right, BlackBerry is one of them, right? BlackBerry, Nortel. Yeah, they kind of seem to do that. It wasn't wasn't Bombardier kind of did really, really well, and then kind of took a drop in the back. It's just, yeah, it's interesting what these Canadian companies do. The Canadian companies that aren't in energy, oil, gas, for sure, they kind of have this. They go crazy. They become everybody's favorite stock to buy, and then they disappear into obscurity sometimes. Yeah, and Shopify especially was one of those ones that went way up. Oh, MC. Okay, interesting. So, see, I should look into that. I don't know. See, BC has like the insurance over here in British Columbia is it's all government, like it's government insurance, right? So, from ICBC, which is the Insurance Corporation of British Columbia, for better or worse. So it's yearly. So I don't know, but that's I'll have to see if it's pay as you go. That would be a good. Yeah, it's hard to know. It depends. Must be a break even. I mean, I know I've obviously my insurance actually. I've been insured like in BC. I've been insured in BC, but I've also had insurance in Alberta. And I remember moving to Alberta, and the insurance was less. But then when I moved back to BC, it really depends on your location and where you are. My insurance is way lower, but also too, not because when I moved to Alberta, I started working from home already. So you take off that commute, you take off the insurance and everything else. So I'm not, and then coming back to BC, my insurance actually isn't that. And as your car gets older, I guess that makes a difference. And as you get older, and don't, hopefully, knock on wood, don't have accidents, it doesn't go up. It's based on you know claims free and your car and all that kind of stuff. So it's actually not, my insurance actually isn't that terrible in price. Yeah, it kind of is. Kind of is. You don't have a choice, right? So it's kind of like, okay, whatever. What's it this year? What's the damage? And then you just buy it. Although one thing, I find it was well, because I grew up in BC, so I've always had BC license and insurance and registration and everything else. There was most confusing thing when I moved to Alberta. I had to get my car inspected there, which was silly. But anyways, you get your car inspected and then you have to go get it registered. But then you have to take your it was just weird. You have to take the registration over. It's like you're in the same place, but you have to go to like one counter and you get your registration taken care of. And then you go to like another window and you go, okay, I'd like to get insurance now. And then like, you need your registration. Like, it was kind of confusing. Whereas in BC, at least you have your registration and your insurance is kind of like, you go to the place and it's like, I need to register my car and I need insurance, and you're done. It's kind of one person takes care of it. It was kind of funny. I was like going to it was kind of like one of those comedy sketches where you're like, you go to one counter and the person helps you and they're like, I can't do this, but you have to go to the next counter, and then the same person walks over and does it. It was kind of like that. It's kind of funny. CA is called MyPace. I'll have to look at that. I'll have to ask my friend that lives in Ontario. It's used to, yeah. And it's like that. It's kind of like that here, and Alberta was like that too. If you drive, you kind of tell them what they check your. I don't actually know if they must check your odometer. They're having that now in BC. Whereas if you submit your odometer, and then going forward, if you've driven less than certain amounts, you'll get a discount because you're not driving as much, right? Obviously, if you're not driving as much, your odds of getting in an accident are hopefully less. So that would benefit certain people if they're not driving, to save it. So they are starting that, as far as I understand here. I had an email about that, but so that would be something maybe good for people that are retired or something like that. If it like not driving, I think I'd probably drive. I think I would probably drive because in the summer and stuff, if you go on road trips, you go on longer distances and stuff. So I'd probably drive more than 12,000 kilometers a year. I have to double check. I don't pay as much attention now to how much I drive because I don't drive a lot, and I don't fill up that much. Yeah, it kind of makes things easier, Brian, for sure. Like it's just kind of weird when I first got my insurance in Alberta. It was a learning. It took me forever to get it. Because when I moved, it was right in March, like the beginning of March 2020, and of course we all know what happened 2 weeks later, and everything. Like I had my BC plates, and everything like completely shut down. So I actually didn't get your insurance. I think is only good for 3 months, but like everything was closed and you couldn't go get it, and so it was kind of took a while for me to actually get things sorted out, to get it all, finally get a plate and everything else. And it's weird when you leave, when your car, I re-registered in Alberta because I drove back, and when I switched my plates over to BC, I didn't have to send my Alberta plate back, which was kind of weird. It's still sitting in my car in the back trunk. I should probably look into where that's supposed to go. MC, I missed your comment there. Going back, there's a documentary on Netflix on Balian. Oh, okay. Dirty Money. I'll have to watch that one. I've seen that one pop up. Not that. I've seen that documentary, so I'll put that on my list to watch that. It was cool. Yeah, that kind of makes sense if you don't own a car. Take an Uber. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, my mom's retired. My dad no longer drives. She has a car. It's an old little car, but she just takes it to the grocery store, pretty much. Like that's it, to the appointment. doesn't drive far. But it depends where you live. I think if you retire, you have to make sure that you're somewhere that you can have access to that, right? Kind of a city. Uber makes sense because you could go somewhere, you don't have to be anywhere necessarily at a certain time. If you're just going if you're going shopping or something, it would definitely be a lot cheaper. Or look at things like if you have to go for groceries and stuff, is just do delivery and get the stuff delivered, kind of thing. Or if you end up I know my mom still has some friends that still drive a lot more than she does because they're a bit younger, but so they'll go on stuff, they'll do stuff together and go shopping together and that kind of stuff. So it's kind of in one car. Yeah, that's the one problem. I think you're on the West Coast too, right, Brian? If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, the weather can be lousy for a bike. Also dangerous on a bike. I worked with a guy that when I worked at the office, he would ride his bike every morning, and the mornings weren't too bad because he would kind of come before rush hour, but then in the afternoons going home, it was like, it could be kind of with the traffic. He took the long way home, and would go like find the bike paths and stuff like that, like off the main roads, because it was too busy with traffic, depending where you are. That's the only thing. But he did it all year. So he'd have all his gear. I think if you have all your gear, it's a lot easier to go. Oh, Prince George. Okay. So sorry. I thought there's someone that I think is in the West Coast on the island as well. I could be mistaken. I've been through Prince George once. That's it. Yeah. Although funny, my mom, when she came to Canada in the late 40s, she moved to Prince George, of all places. Came from Scotland to Prince George. They had a friend there that they knew from Scotland that had a fishing business, like a fishing lodge, back in the 40s. So they came from Scotland to Prince George. I couldn't imagine what Prince George would be like in 1940. I think it was 47, 48 when they were there. Not much there. It's not much there now. Well, it's bigger, but yeah. Yeah, if you're in the middle of nowhere, you can't MC. Yeah, that's the problem. But Uber Eats and what's the other one? Uber Eats and DoorDash. It's so expensive. It's like, I know, I think they're starting to cap the delivery charges and stuff like that, but it's just like super expensive. I mean, I've done it before, but then sometimes you look at it and you go like, it's going to cost me like so much to actually get it. I'll just stop being lazy and I'll get in my car and go pick it up from the restaurant. So yeah, they had I remember I've talked to them about the cold. Yeah, definitely cold. They took obviously a ship across, and then they took a train from Montreal, I believe, all the way. Yeah. So a long trip, and going to go from there, pack everything you have, and start a new life. Yeah. And then they ended up moving down to the Lower Mainland. I guess my mom's dad got a job at, where did he work? It was a wood department store, Woodward's. He worked he would do the suits and that kind of stuff. It wasn't I think he was not a tailor, but like he would do the made to like they measure your suits, right? So he would do that. So he worked in the menswear department at Woodward's for in Vancouver downtown for years. Heated debate. Okay, 2000. This is good. This will be interesting to get some comments on if people are watching MC. So one of my 2023 resolutions is to tip less. Food inflation, etc., makes it pretty challenging to go out and eat and pay increased costs than tip. And tipping has become insane. It really has. As long as you see those machines, I haven't eaten. I have to admit, I haven't eaten out in a restaurant in I think it's been probably like actually dining in a restaurant over a year. Like I couldn't tell you the last time. Probably, no, sorry. I did once in the summer. A friend came in from out of town and we went to a patio, but they paid, so I didn't have to tip. But it has been, because sometimes you go to those coffee shops, those places that have those iPads, and they turn it around and you pay, and it's like 20%, 30%, 50, what happened to 15? It can be quite crazy. I guess one way to look at that, MC, to scale back to tip less would be if you tip, don't tip on the tax. And I'd always, when I used to tip, because I used to work in the food industry as well, but if you tip, I would base it on, I would base the tip amount on the price, like the price before taxes, and not tip the 15%, like not tip on the tax. That was just me. So that's maybe one way to kind of, so then if you actually break it down, you're still giving them 50% on them, but you're not tipping on tax. That's how I used to kind of do it. I don't know if anybody else has thought on that, but yeah, it can get quite, the pickup thing too can be kind of, I would never, it doesn't make sense to tip on pickup, really, because you're going to pick it up, unless sometimes you go to places though, if you go to the same little restaurant every once in a while, and sometimes they give you something a little extra or whatever, then sure, like that's, you fire a toonie years in the thing because it's in your pocket. But yeah, I get you that. It doesn't make sense. I don't think it makes sense for pickup. Yeah. I don't think it's hard. And Brian, if you don't tip enough to make it worthwhile, the fees must go up. Oh, like the fee, yeah, the delivery fee and stuff like that. I think part of, I could be wrong, I think part of the delivery fee obviously goes to the driver, I think. Yeah, I always do that too. Put a little tip jar in your desk. If someone comes up to your desk and asks a question, they have to put a toonie in the jar. That add up. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, sometimes it gets to be a bit kind of, yeah. I get you. I get you on that one. Yeah, especially if the services. I mean, like for example, if you're going to line up at a Starbucks, it's their service job. It's the job that they chose to do. And should you tip? I think if they go above and beyond, that's where you can maybe look at things. If they go above and beyond, make it worthwhile. But in general, yeah, it's hard to say. The tips are not to do the drivers. So the driver can sip cocktails in Hawaii. Yeah. And I guess some places, I mean, obviously some places they don't, tipping is not even expected, right? But again, they pay people possibly a higher wage to live. Yeah, it's hard to know. It's always a touchy subject with people. So be content with higher prices, no tipping. A few places have done that. Prices have gone up 30. Yeah, some of them. So I've seen some of that. Like I've seen on Twitter and stuff, MC, where people post pictures of a menu, and it's kind of like, our prices have increased to include they include kind of a percentage for the staff, so they can pay the staff a proper wage, and they say tipping's not required, kind of thing. That's a good idea. Always hard to know what the best, what the best thing to do. It is a touchy subject. It'd be interesting to go back and it would be interesting to go back and total up how much you've actually tipped over the last 20 years and how much that money actually is. I don't dine out that much though anymore, and go for places that require kind of tips. Yeah. That's maybe one way to. That's one way to save on. That's one way to save on tips is just not go out, eat at home. That's I guess how I do it. And that would make things easier. Yeah. Well, it started off kind of. I think it started off at like Brian. At, you know, the norm was kind of like 15%, right? And then as we got technology and the machines, you know, people figured out that they could put 15, 18, 20, you know, different options in there. And that's, I think that's how it started to grow up from there. But yeah, it's always a touchy subject. I guess MC is when you retire, you can move to a country that doesn't tip, and it's like it's perfect, and ideally a warm country. Let's see how that goes. Yeah. Anyways, on that note, it's almost 9 o'clock, and I've got to work today. So I just want to thanks everybody for joining the live stream. We will be back. I won't be back again, like I said, tomorrow. I'll do a bit of traveling for the next couple of days, so there won't be live stream. But if you turn on notifications, keep an eye on the channel. I'll post again when we are going live. As I like to always say, my banner made this time. Don't forget to like the stream on your way out. It always helps the channel. It's always every little bit helps. Every view helps, and it's. I do appreciate everybody that joins on the channel. We've got one last comment here we'll grab, and then we'll do the sign off. So yeah, a lot of people don't know they don't tip or not to tip. Yeah, it's true. And you tip places that people expect it, where it's kind of like, what did they actually do? I get it. Touchy subject. Well, we could do a whole episode on tipping. Figure that out. How much people tip. I should look on see what the average and what countries do or don't tip. But anyways, we'll end on that note. Thanks so much, everybody. Thanks, Dan, for tuning in. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. MC, everybody, Brian, Candace was here. We had Nadia. We had Abigail. Let's go through and just thank everybody. Justin, I do really appreciate Terrain as well. All the usual coffee crew. It's always appreciated. And for people that are watching that don't jump in the comments and just kind of lurk, I appreciate it as well. So thanks for watching, everybody. We'll catch you in the next one. I'm going to throw on the fireplace just for a little bit. We'll catch you all later.